Hello friends, this is Grief speaking, and I know you all have been waiting a long time for this one. Today we'll be taking a look at Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, Rite of Spring, the follow-up to Patrick Horvath's 2024 hit about a cute and cuddly serial killer bear named Samantha Strong. Taking place nearly a decade after the first comic, Rite of Spring moves into the 90s, and Woodbrook has retained its small-town charm, while the residents try to forget the horrible deaths that occurred years before. Sam is still a staple of the Woodbrook community, but it seems her past is finally catching up with her when the sister of one of her victims seeks revenge. I won't spoil anything, but I will say Rite of Spring ups the ante in surprising ways, and the ending will actually shock you. On a more meta note, this comic is kind of important to me, because my first video covering the series played a big part in launching my channel and also introducing me to a whole new world of horror comics. I found not just some of my favorite new comics, but some of my favorite stories in any media form. It all started with Beneath the Trees, and since then I've even gotten big authors reaching out to me, which is really cool. On that subject, I want to give a special thanks to the original Canadian publisher of Dwellings, a comic I covered last month that I know was a big hit with you guys. They reached out and offered 10% off everything at the Black Eye Bookshop, including the floppy editions of Dwellings, the trade paperback, original art book, and more. I actually nabbed myself an original Dwellings pencils page, which is insanely cool. So if you're interested, use promo code GRIEF when checking out at the website, which I'll link below. I just want to say this is not a paid sponsor. I just really want to support comics that I like. Speaking of which, we've waited long enough. This is Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, Rite of Spring, explained. Issue number 1. The first issue begins with a body that's been chopped up with surgical precision, and it's actually familiar. This is the corpse of one of Sam's victims, a white duck named Daniel Brewer. It's been 8 years since he went missing, and his sister Monica has spent much of that time trying to find out what happened to him. Currently, we see her talking to a police captain at one of the precincts in the city her brother went missing in. He seems a little annoyed as she's come here a dozen times over the past few years asking if there are any new leads. He believes she's wasting both of their time by continuing to pursue this. And we learn the severity of her obsession. Apparently, she visits all the surrounding precincts on rotation, visiting 2 or 3 a week for years now. Every medical examiner has her information and calls her in on any John Doe that looks remotely like her brother. Jesus, this lady's not kidding around. The captain lightens up a bit and tries to level with her, that there are dozens of missing people every year. Most show back up in a couple of days, but some people just get swallowed by the city. Well, unlike the police, Monica has not given up and storms out of the station. She lights up a smoke on her way out, giving 0 fucks, and curses the grind she's been on all these years, as well as whoever took her brother and brought her to this city. After Daniel stopped answering her calls, Monica came to the city to find out what happened and has now spent 8 years of her life here. When she realized she'd be here for a while, she decided to get a part-time job at a copy shop to cover her cost of living, and now she's the manager. But the upside is she can make as many free copies as she wants, which she uses to make missing persons flyers for her brother. When she's not working or visiting police precincts, she spends her time on the dark corners of the internet, researching any and all murders in the area. The World Wide Web is pretty new actually, and there's not much restriction. She mostly looks through a forum on unsolved cold cases, in the hopes that one might be her brother. This means looking at dozens of fucked up photos online of all manner of deaths. She makes a post on the message board about her brother, hoping someone else out there may have seen something. The next morning, Monica wakes up to a classic 90s radio morning show, and as she makes some coffee, she gets a call from a coworker named George. She doesn't pick up, and he leaves a message about everyone going out for karaoke after work. Monica's clearly not interested in any kind of social life and shrugs it off before leaving. While having a smoke break at work, George, who is a cuddly dog, joins her out back and once again mentions the karaoke. He says she probably has big plans, but he wanted to extend the invitation anyway. She just coldly tells him she doesn't have any plans, she just doesn't want to go, and heads back inside. Pretty harsh. Later, at a diner, she reflects on her current social situation and reminds herself that if you start making friends and plans, soon you lose sight of the whole reason you moved here. She uses the diner phone to call her own answering machine and finds that she does have a missed call from the Parkway Division medical examiner. He has a John Doe that may match the description of her brother Daniel. Her eyes go wide and she bolts out of the diner, running through the rain to get to the morgue, reminding herself not to get too hopeful. The examiner says that if it's uncomfortable, she doesn't have to do this in person. She can look at photos or medical records instead. But Monica's definitely not sensitive at this point. She'd rather have a look in person. They enter the morgue, and the examiner says that the body was pulled from a river and had been there for at least 2 weeks based on decomposition. He warns her it's a pretty gruesome sight and pulls back the sheet. Well, he wasn't kidding. It's a very disturbing image. The body is bloated and discolored, and there are huge chunks missing from its shoulder and face. It's an ugly sight, but it's definitely not Daniel. Monica leaves in disappointment, feeling almost ashamed for being so naive as to think she might have finally found him. Seeing her reflection in the subway window, she notices how she's aged and starts to contemplate how much longer she can really do this. She leaves the underground and walks down the street at night when a raccoon approaches her from behind as if he knows her. She picks up on him pretty quickly and reaches into her bag just as another guy comes around the corner. It seems they're in cahoots and start to attack her. But Monica pulls out a baton and hits one hard in the neck, followed up with a good whack on the other dude's face, causing him to lose a few teeth and gush blood from his mouth. She yells at the men to leave, and if they come back, she says she'll kill them. Like I said, Monica doesn't mess around. She gets back to her apartment seeming barely fazed by the attack and sits down at her computer like usual. She's surprised to find that someone actually replied to her post on the message boards. They tell her if she wants to find her brother, she should have a look in Woodbrook. Monica packs up the next morning and asks her coworker George if she can borrow his car. She circles Woodbrook on her map and hits the road. After 8 years of searching, she may have finally found a lead. As she drives into the cute little town, we finally see everyone's favorite cuddly serial killer, Samantha Strong, who notices Monica pull up at the police station. Captain Patterson, a bloodhound, takes a look at Monica's flyer and finds it a little odd that she drove all the way out to Woodbrook. However, they did have some unpleasant business some years back that really shook the whole town, and he says he may have something for her to look at. He pulls out some evidence boxes from the Woodbrook murders back in '86, and sure enough, Monica recognizes Daniel's jacket. Patterson tells her that only a few pieces of the man's body were found, and that, despite her enthusiasm, a jacket isn't going to be enough to identify him. There are thousands of acres of wood where the rest of his body was buried, and they don't have the budget or resources to look. Fed up once again at the lack of police help, Monica storms off, saying she'll find him herself then. Outside, she sits down in the car and is startled to see Sam sitting in the passenger seat. Sam introduces herself to Monica and tells her that she was the one who sent the message telling her to come here. Sam says that she knows where they can look next to find her brother, and asks what Monica is willing to do. She replies that to find her brother, she'd do anything. I'm not sure exactly what Sam is pulling here, but it looks like she's looking for something more than serial murder. It's like she may be moving towards psychological torture for her own amusement. Well, let's find out in the next issue. Issue number 2. We actually go back a little bit here to before Monica arrived in Woodbrook. It's a beautiful morning and spring is on its way. The trees begin to blossom, and Stewie the postman makes his rounds as Sam's narration talks about change. Sometimes you see it coming from a mile away, and sometimes it's sneaky, slowly twisting the world until it's upside down. Stewie drops off a large box at Birdie the Turtle's house. They discuss how Birdie's got a cozy job, soldering circuit boards for cute digital alarm clocks, and then ships them back where they assemble everything. A work-from-home job before work-from-home was really a thing. Along with the rest of his mail, he also gets a WebLinks internet disk with 100 free hours. Basically this world's version of AOL Online. Stewie's happy that Birdie likes his job, but advises him to get out of the house every once in a while, or soon he'll end up at an old folks home, like the one down the street. Next, Stewie stops by the newspaper stand and grabs a paper. It looks like the big news recently is that wild animals have been wandering into town. Chip, the fox who runs the stand, has a theory that the animals are only coming into town because land developers are pushing them out. If you take away their hunting grounds, I guess they gotta find their food somewhere new. As if to punctuate this relative piece of dialogue, it cuts to Sam in her hardware store. She's got help from a teenage mole named Lewis. If he looks familiar, that's because he's actually the son of Charlie, Sam's employee from the first comic who was killed in a pretty fucked up way by Nigel. He works part-time at the store and feels like he gets to be closer to his dad. After ringing up a customer, Lewis finds a switch and red button under the front desk. Sam tells him to be careful. That's her new alarm system that she had installed after everything went down. Stewie comes in and drops off Sam's mail, including another Weblinks disc and a postcard from her parents who now live in Florida. She closes up shop for Easter weekend and loads up her truck. Over the years, she's gone on less and less trips, and it's become easier at this point to just take them during the holidays. She never goes to the same city twice, which means farther trips and overnight camping. It feels easier than ever to slip up, and she has to be extra careful, mostly thanks to Nigel and all the shit that he stirred. He changed this town in more ways than one. Some are less noticeable than others. As Sam leaves town, she passes by the car of Wendy the Mole, Lewis's sister, who's coming back to visit from college. She returns home to greet Lewis, and it looks like the death of their father has affected their mother, Pauline, pretty badly. It seems Pauline has a hard time getting out of bed and has been calling into work frequently. This is due to her chronic pill addiction. Kinda sad. The siblings go out for a drive and discuss the situation, not sure what to do about their mom and her bad habit. Lewis tells Wendy to hide her cigarette as they pass by Birdie the turtle, who gives them a wave. This passes the perspective to the turtle, who's walking his dog on the corner by the nursing home. He tells the dog to go ahead and do his business because he really doesn't want to talk to anyone here. As if manifesting his fear, an elderly bird lady named Agatha calls out from a balcony, attempting to strike up a conversation. Birdie reluctantly engages in small talk while he cleans up his dog's crap, and she tells him he can throw away the dog waste in the dumpster out back. That's where everyone else does. He awkwardly waves and turns the corner, only to find a bear digging in the dumpster. And I don't mean a humanoid bear, I mean like a big scary bear. Birdie's dog goes nuts barking, and he runs off, yelling for the old woman to get inside and lock her door. He makes it home himself and lets out a sigh of relief that the animal didn't chase him. He tells the dog that maybe they shouldn't go back out for a while, and that he prefers to keep the outside world limited to what he can get through his computer. He uses his Weblinks disc to access the web, and for fun searches up Woodbrook. Soon he finds some forums discussing the disturbing murders from years back. Not only that, but all kinds of tragedy just like it around the world, making him feel like it must not be safe anywhere anymore. From here, we check back in with Sam, who seems to have driven all the way to Seattle to find her next victim. To lower the chances of being noticed on the street, she stops in a parking garage. A guy parks his car and walks through the garage when he sees Sam. Her right arm's in a sling, and she's trying to lift a heavy box into her truck. He offers to help, and like so many times before, Sam knocks him out with chloroform. With the body secured, she drives out to the deep woods where she does most of her killings. Of course, with the new land developments popping up everywhere, it's been hard to find a quiet place. She eventually finds a secluded spot and goes to work, still using the same method that she did before, cutting the victim's neck and letting the blood drain onto a hot plate to burn up. Then surgically cutting up the body into small chunks, which she places into paint cans and buries in the ground. She pulls out her electric saw to begin, and we see a vision of Sam smiling as she floats in a pool of blood. These moments are the only time that she's actually happy. There's a disturbing panel of the guy's face split into fourths as Sam begins placing a severed hand into a paint can. Looks like our girl hasn't lost her touch after all these years. After finishing the job, she builds a campsite and contemplates the future. Will she be able to keep this up forever? The next morning, Sam gets back to Woodbrook and opens up her shop when Birdie comes out to tell her and Chip that Woodbrook is famous. He found a website where people talk about the murders. But before he can go on, he suddenly freaks out. The bear from earlier is now casually walking down the street. The police show up and Captain Patterson tells his men to take the shot. With a bang, the wild bear is shot and killed, falling to the pavement with blood gushing from its sides. The townsfolk all gather around discussing what just happened and whether it was really the right thing to do to shoot the bear like that. Birdie continues talking about the website he found and how they talk in the message boards about Nigel and even Sam who fought him. After hearing this, Sam enters her shop and digs the web links disk out of her trash. Later, she has one of her part-timers help set up the internet on her computer, and she's a little thrown off to find people online looking for answers to hundreds of murders. Some, of course, were hers. At first, it felt like a mold infestation that had been growing for years and she just found. But maybe this has opened the door to something else. Sam stumbles upon a post by Monica Brewer asking about her missing brother. We then see Sam replying to Monica, telling her to come to Woodbrook. Sam says she doesn't know if this will be a breeze or a storm. They both tend to start the same way. And in the final panel, she ominously looks over at a few boxes of shotgun shells. Issue number 3. Monica wakes up in a daze at the Woodbrook Motel when there's a knock on the door. Turns out to be Sam, who asks her if she had time to think about what she said. Suddenly, Sam's head starts ballooning up in size and she busts through the door. The walls begin collapsing due to her gigantic head, and soon Monica is consumed by her expanding chin. As Sam says, "I want to do everything I can to help you." Of course, this is just a nightmare, and Monica wakes up screaming. She looks out the window on a rainy day in Woodbrook and reflects on how this small town feels stuck in time, as if the rest of the world has moved on and nobody's noticed yet. She feels like if she doesn't keep moving, she'll get stuck too. At the hardware store, Sam is ringing up a customer who points out that Sam's fur is really starting to go gray and wonders if she'd ever consider dyeing it. She says she hasn't really thought about it and then asks the woman if she's ever considered dyeing. The lady's eyes go wide, but then they both bust up laughing and start talking about the rainy weather. Elsewhere, Monica walks down to the Woodbrook Library hoping to dig up more info on the murders and Sam. The librarian pulls out some microfilm containing every issue of the paper related to the killing spree and leaves her to it. Monica scrolls through the pages and stops on an image of Sam. The librarian says it's a miracle she survived that night, and we're brought into a flashback. A young Samantha has a conversation with her parents about her future. After graduating high school and traveling through Europe, she's decided to stay in Woodbrook and work with her dad at the hardware store. They're pleased to hear it, and her father tells her how proud he is of her. So after this, Sam started learning everything about the store and how her father operated. There was so much potential lining the shelves. With so many tools now at her disposal, this was like a candy shop for serial killers, and she couldn't wait to start experimenting. But she needed to pace herself. First, she needed to win the hearts and minds of Woodbrook, being a friendly neighborhood bear who's planted herself firmly in her community. A monster hiding in plain sight. We can see her and her father getting their picture taken for the paper, the same one that Monica in the present day is now reading. Monica notices a young woman nearby who's been watching her out of curiosity. She asks the woman what she knows about Samantha Strong, and the lady says she doesn't really know much, but if Monica really wants to find out about Sam, she should get in touch with Lewis Burrow. Speaking of Lewis, we see him walking into the local record store and browsing. The lion behind the counter here really reminds me of Leo from that 70s show. Anyway, as he thumbs through the vinyls, Monica walks in and she's surprised to find he already knows who she is. It's a small town and word gets around fast. They get along pretty well actually, talking about bands they like and decide to have a smoke, though Lewis is afraid someone will rat him out to his mom and suggests they duck into an alley. Samantha sees them as she gets her morning coffee, and this takes her back to one of her first kills. A much younger Sam leads a red panda down an alley toward her car, offering to give him a lift, but then she pulls a plastic bag over his head. In the beginning, she would coat the inside of a bag with chloroform. She also used to seek her victims out, leading them back to her car, but eventually realized it was easier to just let them come to her. In an unsettling two-pager, we see Sam cutting the panda's throat as he hangs upside down, though she doesn't have her burner yet, just a bucket of blood. Her tactics in general were more crude, using a hacksaw and shovel to dismember them. The severed head of a white dog lay on a tarp wearing blue earrings, and later, Sam is examining them as a sort of trophy when her mom scares her from behind. Her mother just assumes Sam might be thinking about getting her ears pierced, but Sam realized that her parents were just a nuisance in her pursuit of happiness. She got to the point of knowing the store front and back and can fully operate it herself. She asked her father when he'll retire, and he figures it'll be another 20 years, to her disappointment. Back in the present, Lewis talks about how Sam has always been there for his family and that she's a special person. Speak of the devil, Sam walks out the alley door of the store and requests Lewis's help inside, telling him he'll do just fine by himself for a bit while she has a talk with Monica. Sam asks her if she has thought about her proposal and understands if she doesn't trust her yet. She also tells Monica that Lewis has enough problems without adding smoking to the list. We then get another flashback to young Samantha, who has cooked dinner for her parents as a thank you before they leave in the morning. It seems they finally decided it was okay to retire and head off to Florida. Sam's father goes into classic dad talk about the route he's going to take and how they'll already be on the road while everyone else is still eating breakfast. However, he suddenly starts choking and collapses to the floor, shaking. Sam's mother screams and assumes he's having a heart attack, while Sam just sits completely still and emotionless. Then her mother's mouth starts foaming as she too grabs her neck. Sam says it's no heart attack, it's cyanide. This cold bitch just killed her parents with no remorse, a true psychopath. She drags their bodies to the basement and goes to work, chopping them up as if all of her victims up till now had only been practice for this moment. She disposes of their body parts in paint cans and hides them under the house. Then, putting their belongings in the car, she pushes it into a lake. I guess Sam's parents aren't in Florida after all. They're in hell. Just kidding, but they are dead. And Sam's only been pretending they're alive to keep up appearances with the townsfolk. In the present, Sam continues her discussion with Monica as they walk. She leads the way, and eventually they stop across from a yellow house. This was Lola and Nigel's house. We get some backstory about how Lola got pregnant with Nigel and was abandoned by the father. So she moved in with her parents until they both died, and eventually it was just the two of them living there. Of course, Lola and Nigel have been dead for a few years now, and a young couple with a baby have moved in. They probably don't even know what happened here. Sam suggests that Nigel might still have some secrets hidden in his room, but Monica will have to lie to gain the couple's trust and somehow get inside to find his stash. It won't be easy, but if she really wants to find her brother, she's gonna have to try. Issue number 4. We see a koala woman doing chores and her baby watching a kid's show when there's a knock on the door that turns out to be Monica. She's wearing a safety vest and says she's from the Woodbrook County Office of Tax and Finance and needs to assess the home. The woman is a little caught off guard, but kindly lets her in to have a look around, and out comes her husband, another koala. He doesn't mind letting her look around, but hopes this doesn't mean they'll have a tax increase. Monica assures them that won't be the case, and they're more than welcoming, even leaving her alone to do her fake job. She has a moment of doubt, asking herself what the hell she's doing here. Sam watches her from outside with binoculars, clearly getting a sick enjoyment from the events she set in motion. She finds it thrilling, getting close to Monica, someone who's been obsessed with her work for so long. As Sam pours herself some coffee from her thermos, it echoes back to the image of Monica's brother bleeding out. Meanwhile, Birdie the turtle is having a chat with someone online and finds it so exciting to be talking to someone from across the world. We also learn here that he's 72. Unfortunately, his web trial ends and he's pretty bummed. Then he gets an idea. He bets the nursing home will have a bunch of WebLinks discs laying around that they aren't using. Him and his dog head over, but when he enters the front office, it's empty. He looks over and sees a disc thrown in the trash, but before he leaves, he hears someone crying for help. Birdie looks into the room and sees the bird woman from earlier, as well as an old gopher that's fallen and can't get up. The turtle nabs a wheelchair from the hall and helps the old feller into it. At the same time, an actual nurse finally comes down the hall asking if everyone's okay, and Agatha chews him out before striking up a conversation with Birdie. When she learns that he's 72, she comments on how lucky turtles are. He looks about 35. She goes on to say that when you're young, you live your whole life day to day and never stop to think about how good you've got it. This brings us back to the young couple's house, where Monica tells the wife she's gonna head upstairs and have a look around. She enters Nigel's old room, which is now the nursery. Outside, Sam waits for Monica, passing the time by doing a crossword and solving the word marionette, which is a little on the nose here. A robin lands on her side mirror and she playfully asks where Mr. Robin is, ominously saying maybe something horrible happened to him. Okay. Meanwhile, Lewis is running late for school on account of his mother oversleeping. Worse than that, she nearly kills them, accidentally running a red light. But ultimately, Lewis makes it to school without any fatalities. We get some snapshots of Lewis's school day where he doesn't seem to have any friends and looks rather depressed. On a phone call with his sister, he tells her how much he misses how mom used to be, and they talk about how much they miss their dad. Pretty sad, man. We see Pauline on her lunch break at work, and one of her coworkers confronts her. She says she found some pills in Pauline's jacket pocket and that her brother had a bad addiction to them. If she ever needs help, she'd be happy to point her in the right direction. Pauline plays it off, saying it's just some anxiety medication and she hasn't been on it very long. But when she pulls the bottle out from her jacket, she can't help but start to cry. We check back in with Monica, who's searching the nursery for any hiding spot Nigel might have hidden something. Finally, she notices a loose floorboard and pulls it back to find a red tin box. You may recognize this from the first series as Nigel's murder memento box. Just as Monica grabs it, the mother and her baby enter the room, and the lady is reasonably scared, thinking that Monica is planting something in her child's room. Monica tries to explain herself, but the woman calls for her husband in a complete panic. Monica just rushes past her and starts walking down the stairs when she's confronted by the husband, who stops her, asking what she has in her hands. There's a struggle over the box for a moment, but Monica yanks it from the man, sending him tumbling backwards down the stairs. With sickening noises, the man smashes his jaw, breaks his wrist, and splats at the bottom of the stairs in his own blood. Monica just runs away, leaving bloody footprints in her wake, and makes it back to Sam's car on the trail nearby. Talk about escalating quickly, my god. They drive off and Monica catches her breath, saying she thinks she may have hurt that guy back there. But yeah, you think? She opens the box and finds several of Nigel's items, including a map where he seems to have circled the locations of his murders. Well, actually, they're Sam's murders, but Monica doesn't know that. She calls Sam a genius and finds a spot marked with the date that her brother disappeared. They stop back at the motel so Monica can grab some things before they go investigate. She read that Nigel buried his victims in paint cans and thought buying a metal detector could help. While she grabs it, Sam looks at the map in the car and notices something. Nigel had written Samantha's buried treasure on the back. She's lucky Monica didn't see this and takes a pen to scribble it out. Issue number 5. Lewis stops at Chip's newsstand and says he's opening the shop on his own this morning while Sam is out. He sees an article in the paper about how Woodbrook is getting a new highway, and Chip goes on a rant about how they don't really need one. He says travel times will improve, but the car fatalities will go way up for a while. Plane crashes, buildings collapsing, toxic waste. People will accept a lot of death for money in politics. Back in the day, they used to sacrifice people for a bountiful harvest. It makes you wonder if we really left that behind. Meanwhile, Monica and Sam are on the road headed toward the spot her brother may be buried. Wanting to make notes on the map, Monica asks if Sam has a pen, and she says she doesn't have one. This is a subtle way of showing Sam's cleverness. She used her pen to mark out her name on the map and knows that it would be a giveaway if Monica saw the same blue ink. It's the type of sloppy shit that would get other killers caught, but Sam's a pro. When they arrive in the general area, they find the road is blocked by a construction crew setting up a build site. Seeing as how they're going outside the law to investigate some buried dead bodies, they decide it's best to park a ways off and hike in to avoid suspicion. Back in Woodbrook, Pauline is dreaming of the day that her now dead husband proposed to her, and is rudely awakened by a phone call from Lewis at the store. He looks concerned that she's even home. She's going to be really late for work again. Out in the woods, Monica is scanning the ground with her metal detector when sure enough, it starts beeping wildly. She digs it up and finds a paint can. Both hopeful and terrified at what she might see, she opens the can up to look inside. It seems she found part of Daniel's head. With tears streaming down her face, she simply says, "There you are, Danny." And behind her, with a big smile, is Sam, soaking up her suffering. Still fucked up on pills, Pauline stumbles out toward her car, dropping her keys on the way. She manages to get it started and hit the road, blowing through stop signs on the way to work. Sam and Monica have dug up the rest of the cans. Monica drops some buckets off at the truck and notices the scribbles on the map. Using the old pencil trick, Monica scribbles over the ink where she can make out the original writing, Sam's buried treasure. Her eyes widen as she realizes what this means. At the same time, a construction worker wanders into the area where Sam is digging and says he's pretty sure this is private property. She asks him to keep this between them, but he says he'll have to report it and wonders why they're burying paint cans. The guy is interrupted when he hears the sound of his own truck driving away behind him. Monica has decided to take it, and before she drives off, she holds up the map and screams at Sam, telling her, "It's all over, you psycho bitch." She assumes Sam worked with Nigel to commit the crimes, including killing her brother. Surprisingly, Sam smiles, saying it's like watching a flower blossom. Her being found out by Monica doesn't seem to bother her at all. Sam then swings a paint can into the worker's face, breaking it in several places. He stumbles out in front of the truck as Monica tries to speed off, and she hits him hard, causing his body to tumble over the roof and land on the ground completely mangled. Sam was hoping the body would at least cause her to veer into a tree, but part of her is impressed that Monica never even slowed down. As she gets into her truck, Sam notes that it's the closest she's ever felt to connecting to someone. Back in Woodbrook, Pauline can't help herself from nodding off in her car, and there's a line of people honking at her at a stop sign. At the same time, Monica comes speeding back into town with Sam hot on her tail. Just as the bear almost closes in on her, presumably to drive her off the road, Sam is T-boned by another car. It's Pauline running another red light and smashing into Sam's truck. Monica drives off and the EMS show up to help. They say if Pauline wasn't so relaxed, she'd likely have broken her neck, and Sam is left with a black eye and a bandaged head, but otherwise is alright. She's a bit surprised when the police give her a ride home and don't mention a thing about Monica. Maybe she didn't tell them, or maybe they wanted to make Sam sweat a little. Assuming this is her last normal night before shit hit the fan, Sam just goes through her normal routine. She gets ready in the morning like usual and eats breakfast, where she has a vision of her parents still sitting at the table, only their bodies are severed into chunks. She walks to the hardware store and realizes that eventually things would have to change, and in fact, they already had. You might notice here that this panel reflects one of the very first images of the first Beneath the Trees run. Shortly after entering the hardware store, she's followed in by Captain Patterson, who says he's placing her under arrest. Sam tries to ask what's wrong, but he cuts her off and says she's been playing this whole town for fools. Behind him are two of his deputies and Monica, who starts yelling at her, saying they can test DNA and use the map to find all the other bodies she's buried. Outside, Lewis sees all the police cars parked in front of the store, and Chip warns him that maybe it's better if he doesn't go in today. Sam moves behind the counter, reminding Patterson that this was all settled years ago. Monica starts walking toward her, saying she'll drag her out herself if she has to. At the same time, one of the deputies draws his gun on Sam, telling her to show her paws. Patterson tries to calm everyone down and tells Monica it's only courtesy that she's not in cuffs, considering the separate mess that she's in. I'm guessing this is referring to the guy she pushed down the stairs and the man that she hit with the truck. Then, in a sudden and truly surprising moment, Sam pulls a handgun out from under the counter and shoots Patterson in the head, dropping him to the floor dead. Everyone, including me, is shocked at what just happened. Sam flips the so-called security switch under the counter and a panel on the ceiling slides open, revealing several shotguns pointed out. Sam hits the red button and the guns fire, ripping the policemen to shreds with buckshot. It's gruesome as all hell. Outside, Chip peeks into the window when he's suddenly shot through the throat. Lewis kneels over the fox's body crying, not knowing what to do other than to cry out for help. Inside, Monica has grabbed a shovel off the rack and takes a swing at Sam. But she just grabs it in her hand, unflinching, and with her other, smashes Monica's head into the wall, knocking her out. Sam picks up her body and casually walks toward the back door. If she can't stay in Woodbrook, maybe nobody should. She flips the switch as she leaves, and behind the cops' mutilated bodies, flames erupt, catching the whole place on fire. Now we move into the final issue of Rite of Spring. We see downtown Woodbrook and its happy townsfolk walking along as Sam talks about DC-AC remote relay switches. They can reach anywhere from 1 to 3 miles and are great for little things like turning on lights or opening garages. They're also great for ignitions on incendiaries. Suddenly, the clock tower in the town square explodes into flames. We then see 4 switches in the back of the hardware store, 2 already flipped, one for the store itself and the other for the clock tower. Sam heads out to the alley where she uncovers a car that she's had hidden all of this time, and starts loading it up. Inside, Monica starts to wake up and finds herself tied to a chair. Sam casually greets her and says she hopes she'll stay put for a bit longer, and then she'll be on her way. Monica tells her she won't get too far, but Sam says the whole county is going to be too busy today to be worrying about her. She flips the 3rd switch, and elsewhere we can see the fire department loading up a truck and making a plan to put out the 2 fires. They speed off when suddenly the top floor of the fire station itself bursts into flames. You can see the shocked look on the chief's face when he gets the news. They are completely fucked. Next, we see Woodbrook Hospital. Down in the basement, flames begin shooting out of the laundry room. Upstairs, a doctor escorts the young koala mother through the halls, saying that her husband is still in a coma, but she really thinks it helps when they come to visit. They pass by a room, and inside we see Pauline recovering from the car accident. A social worker is interviewing her and says that the amount of benzos in her system would have the average person incapacitated. Pauline tries to play it off like usual when the woman gets serious with her. Her son is still a minor and she has a substance abuse problem. If she doesn't complete a rehab program and stay sober for 6 months, they'll remove Lewis from her custody. God damn, this comic got so depressing and it just won't let up. Pauline cries in the mirror when suddenly the fire alarm goes off. In a neighborhood on the other side of town, a group of kids watch in horror from their treehouse as Woodbrook starts going up in flames. The police drive through the neighborhood instructing everyone to evacuate the town and not to bother bringing belongings. Birdie, our favorite turtle, hears this but really doesn't want to leave. Thank God for his dog, who won't stop barking, finally convincing him they need to go. He reluctantly packs up some clothes and heads out the door. As he loads up the car, he sees how bad the fires must be as the sky is filled with smoke. He starts to speed away when he passes the nursing home and sees that nobody there has left yet. He decides he needs to go help and turns around. Meanwhile, the fire department has shown up to the hardware store and Lewis is still kneeling over Chip's body. Surprisingly, the old guy is still clinging to life, and with his last words, he tells Lewis if he's ever lucky enough to find someone who wants to spend their life with him, not to fuck it up. Lewis laughs through the tears and says okay, but Chip dies moments later. A nearby EMT asks where the sheriff and deputies are, and a woman tells him that they're dead and that Samantha killed them. In the back of the store, Monica starts going apeshit, telling Sam how vile she is and that eventually her luck will run out. Sam just smiles and asks if Monica realizes that she killed that man she hit yesterday. She says she's never had a connection with anyone like she's had with Monica. Then she asks Monica why she kept searching for her brother. She knew he must have been dead. Wasn't that enough? Monica says she wanted to know what happened, and behind her we can see flames start to poke through the sides of the door. Sam says she was just waiting for someone to walk by. It could have been anyone, and there was her brother. She grabs her bag and starts walking out the back door as Monica screams at her. Sam steps outside and wonders if God's hand had anything to do with this. Why wasn't she ever stopped? She looks up and finds that her car has been moved. Lewis is driving and yells at her how could she do all of this to them. She only pretended to care about him, didn't she? Sam tries to calm him down and tells him to get out of the car, reaching into her jacket. But Lewis is belligerent and blames Sam for his father's death. He drives off and Sam pulls out her gun to take a shot, but only manages to shoot the side mirror off. At least Lewis managed to slow her down. But every time a path is blocked, the answer was right around the corner, almost like it's inevitable. A friendly owl drives through the alley and tells Sam her shop is on fire. She asks if he'll give her a hand really quick. He steps out, and just as he hears Monica's screams from inside, Sam cuts the owl's throat, leaving him to bleed out on the pavement as she takes his car and drives away. Back in the hospital, we see the poor koala that Monica pushed down the stairs still stuck in a coma. And outside in the hallway, Pauline, as well as the other patients, are all rushing out of the hospital. They manage to make it out, and on the sidewalk, we can see the koala mother realizing her husband is stuck in there and is gonna die. Lewis pulls up in Sam's car and finds his mother. They hug, and she asks whose car this is, which causes him to break down and sob. Birdie heads into the nursing home as burning embers begin falling from the sky, likely to light up the whole neighborhood. He looks inside for Agatha and finds her upstairs having fallen down. These poor elderly folk are all by themselves. I guess the nurse left a while ago and never came back. Birdie helps her outside along with the others, and Agatha tells them all that this brave young turtle is gonna save them. She pulls out the nursing home bus keys, which she nabbed a while back when she started getting suspicious about the place, and asks him to drive them out of here. Birdie is reluctant, but can't really argue and helps load the old people onto the bus. Next, we see Lewis's sister Wendy in her dorm room when someone calls her over to the TV. She sees the reports on the news about how Woodbrook is burning and runs out in tears. As fire trucks from nearby counties drive into the town, Sam is on her way out. We get a montage of Birdie driving the elderly people out of town, the record store owner saving some of his favorite albums as his store burns down, and in the most disturbing image, the burning corpse of Monica, who was left to burn alive in the back of the store. Brutal. Later, at a gas station in the middle of the desert, Sam fills up on gas and asks if there's a town nearby. The old man says he wouldn't call it a town. She's officially reached the middle of fucking nowhere. Well, the middle of nowhere sounded pretty good to Sam. She says that in the years that followed, the world found out about everything she did. She knew that she could never keep her secret forever. She just didn't expect that once everyone found out, she'd have so many fans. And that is the end of Rite of Spring. Yep, the bad guy wins, and Sam completely gets away with it all. I get the sense that that last line isn't just a reference to the internet obsessing over her murders in the years to come, but a sort of meta commentary on us, the reader, being such big fans of Sam, who's now entered into the league of our favorite slasher villains like Michael Myers and Freddy Krueger. It's a weird feeling because, yeah, Sam is the main character and you kind of want to see how she's going to get away with it all, but now that she actually has, you can't help but feel kind of sad at all the heartbreak and ruin that she's left in her wake. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. There's definitely room here for another sequel, so it'll be cool to see what comes next. Anyway, shout out to Kill Me Katie as always for the intro and outro music, which is likely playing right now. And if you want to see your art at the end of my videos, email me a submission to the address below with a name or social media handle. But I appreciate you guys watching at all. This is Grief speaking. Goodbye, friends.